Welcome and bonsoir. Welcome to today's special edition of CUNY Citizenships Now Facebook Live discussing Haitian TPS. Today's Facebook Live is sponsored by the New York State Office for New Americans and the Liberty Defense Project. Funding for CUNY Citizenship Now's legal services are provided by the New York City Council. Thank you very much. Welcome again. My name is Sandra Judene, and I'm the immigration attorney at CUNY Citizenship Now. If you would like an appointment with us, there are 3 points of contact. You can call us at 646-664-9400. You may text us at 929-334-3784, or you can email us at citizenshipnowinfo@cuny.edu. Please note that in observance of summer hours, starting June 21st through August 13th, our hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And once again, our summer hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are excited today to have Stephanie Delia with us. She is a passionate attorney, and she's a leader voice in the Haitian community. We will be posing some questions in both Creole and English to help our Haitian constituents understand more about the Haitian TPS. But before we get started, I would like to let everyone know that after the presentation, we will have a question and answer period. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the box below, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible during the time allotted. And here I'm going to say my response in Creole and English so that I can welcome Ms. Stephanie Delia. As a Haitian immigrant child, my parents are both Haitian and Stephanie is a Haitian immigrant. We are here celebrating Immigrant Heritage Month, and the announcement of the Haitian TPS during this time, it's very poignant. Jodia m'a content parce que c'est petit haïtien moyen. Stephanie, c'est l'été fait Haïti, il vient aux États-Unis. Et nous très contents, nous avons aidé citoyens haïtiens avec questions immigration et puis pour nous aider tout citoyen en États-Unis. So Stephanie, introduce yourself and nous met parler.
Merci. Hello, thank you. Sandra, I missed you. I'm so happy to see you. This is the best way for us to get back together and chat. So I am excited to be here. I started with CUNY when TPS started, so this feels like home. And coming back to help with this effort is ideal because it's all hands on deck. And Citizenship Now is so great at providing services for the immigrants all across New York, especially Haitians, that this just feels good. I'm excited to be here and I can't wait to get started.
Okay, so once the Biden administration announced on May 22nd that Haiti would be redesignated for TPS, we received a lot of calls. And so these are some of the most frequently asked questions regarding TPS. So we'll get started and I will announce when I'm going to make the questions in both Creole and English so that people can be prepared for the answers. Basically, what is temporary protective status?
Good question. Temporary protective status, which is what we refer to as TPS, is when some major event occurs in a country. And so for the purposes of this conversation, we're talking about Haiti. And the government, the American government, decides that nationals from that country, so for our purposes, it's Haitian nationals who are currently in the US at the time that the event occurs, are not going to be forced to return home until it is safe to do so. It is temporary in nature, but anyone who is present in the US and a national from the country where some major event, and so for example, in 2010, it was the earthquake. The new TPS designation is because of the political conflict happening in Haiti. So it could be either political, it could be a natural disaster, but any one of those reasons could allow the government of the US to grant nationals from that country temporary protected status.
Awesome. The next question I'll be asking in both Creole and English. What are the requirements for Haitians to attain TPS?
Definitely. So there are three main requirements to be eligible to get Haitian TPS. The first and the foremost is that you actually have to be a Haitian national. What does that mean? You could have been born in Haiti, or you could have become a citizen of Haiti through some other means, or you could be a person with no country who last resided permanently in Haiti. The second requirement is continuous resident from the designation date. So for the purposes of the Haitian TPS grant from 2021, the announcement was made May 22nd, 2021. You would have been required to be present from May 21st, 2021 or earlier. The prior designations in 2010 and 2011 had different dates, but for now, if you were here on or before May 21st, 2021, you're going to meet the eligibility requirement. It is a continuous presence requirement. So once you're here, you cannot just leave and then come back and apply. There are exceptions to the continuous rule, but generally you want to just stick around. And the third is you have to file during the initial registration period. What does that mean? Well, if you're here on May 21st, 2021, and the designation date is announced and you do not apply at all, 1 year later, you say, hey, I meet all the requirements, I'd like to apply, you're not going to be able to do so. So you have to apply during the designation date. You do those three things, and if you meet other eligibility criteria, you're very likely going to get TPS.
Okay, so I'm going to post it now in Creole. Qui jan ou moun ka qualifié pour TPS et pour désignation ça?
So, il y a 3 gens pour qualifier. Premièrement, c'est que pour Haïtienne, pas vrai? So, national haïtienne. Pour mon national haïtienne, ça veut dire que tu es fait en Haïti, ou bien ou tu as droit fait en l'autre côté, mais ou à Haïti, ou bien citoyenne Haïti, ou bien ou tu as droit pas de pays. La fini dernier côté tu es c'était en Haïti. Si vous considérez national Haïti, ou qualifié, ou première qualification. Deuxième, c'est que pour les États-Unis, na date TPS désignation, pas vrai? So, pour nous-mêmes, on a parlé des annoncements qui étaient faits 22 mai 2021. Pour qualifier pour ça, il faut être un pays 21 mai 2021 ou bien plus bonnet que ça. Si vous mettez 2 qualifications, ça y est, pas oublier que si vous êtes dans le pays, il faut arrêter dans le pays. So, pas qu'à venir, quitter le pays, la finir retourner pour appliquer. Pour là, et pour rester là. Et pour ça, ça y est, faut continuer à rester. Troisième, c'est pour fil, et deux pour fil. Pour nous-mêmes, il faut qu'on annonce qui le monde a fait. Mais l'annoncement fait pour fil pendant date de pour fil. Il y a une date qui a commencé, une date là fini. Sous fait 3 ça, on qualifie.
Okay, merci beaucoup. The next question as well will be in Creole and English. What if you apply for TPS and you were denied?
So that's a multi-tiered answer. In a nutshell, it depends, which I know is a common attorney answer, but for this case, it really does depend. So if you were denied for a technical reason, you're probably still going to be eligible to apply again. So let's say you applied and you didn't submit the right amount of money, or you just didn't submit money at all. Or you applied after the registration period and didn't have a good reason for the lateness. You could have been denied based on those reasons and very likely will still be eligible now because it's May 21st, 2021 or earlier. Earlier includes 2011 when the prior grant was. If the denial was for some other reason, right? So let's say they determined you didn't meet the eligibility criteria. It's possible that you will be eligible now. What's a good example? If the reason you did not meet the eligibility criteria was because you were not present in the US during the last designation period, which would have been in 2011, but let's say you came late 2011, it's perfect now because so long as you remained here and you were present on May 21st, 2021, you're going to be able to meet the criteria for the new one. The exception is if the reason you were denied was because of possibly a criminal conviction. That's different. If you were deemed ineligible because of a prior conviction, there's a strong likelihood that you will still be ineligible. So make sure you speak to an immigration professional. But in a nutshell, it is quite possible that you did not meet the eligibility criteria the first time, but you do this time. It's just not necessarily a guarantee.
So, si mte aplike pou TPS, et puis yo di mba jwen TPS la, ki sa mka fe? Base mwen nan problem.
Oui, so e depend de raison yo te di ou pa ka jwen liyan, pa vre?
Oui.
Si raison yo te di ou pa ka jwen liyan, se paske ou raison teknikal. Sa vle di yo te gen wapat voye l'argent, ou bien ou te voye li apre date, ou te ki denye date, ou te suppose voye lon, pa meton raison. Si c'était une raison comme ça, pas de problème. Bon chance que si tu es qualifié 2010 ou bien 2011, vous qualifier encore. Mais, si raison en certes que vous êtes ou pas qualifié, passer ou pas mit, ou pas, ou pas qualifié, pas vrai? Ou pas qualifié pour TPS même. Raison a dit nous, est-ce que vous avez appliqué pour ça ou bien sous style pas appliqué? Si raison, c'est une raison que ou tu es en conviction criminelle, ou bien doit style pas appliqué, pas vrai? Mais si raison, c'est que tu dois dire que tu es venu trop tard, c'est peut-être pas qualifié, eh bien, CUNY fera ça, ou tu es à l'heure pour faire ça. Tu dois trop tard pour 2011, mais ou à l'heure pour 2021. So, l'aimerait dire nous constater que c'est dépend, c'est parce que Kaouan a dit nous est-ce que fera ça la différence.
Okay, merci. Another question that that I've been getting as well is, what if the participant or the Haitian national was in the US for the first designation and they never applied? What are their options now? Can they apply for this new designation?
Quite possibly. So and I don't just say this because I'm an attorney. I'm very reluctant to tell people to submit any application to US Department of Homeland Security without first speaking to an immigration professional. So if you never applied the first time, the presumption is you were never screened and determined to be eligible. If that's the case, get screened now. But if you are present and you just failed to apply, there is a very good chance that this is your second shot. You can get it this time and you're good. The reason I advise people to never submit applications to USCIS without speaking to an immigration professional is because when you apply for anything with USCIS, you're not just asking them to make a decision on that particular issue, right? You're asking them to look at you as a person, individual, and determine whether or not you're eligible. Sometimes what they discover is you're not supposed to be here because of some other issue and you're deportable. If that's the case, they're not going to say, well, that's not what we were talking about. We're not going to put the person in deportation proceedings. If you submit an application and you happen to be deportable and you didn't speak to an immigration professional and you didn't know that, you're going to end up in hot water. So first and foremost, speak to an immigration professional and make sure that you're eligible. But if you meet the eligibility requirements and you don't have any major issues, this might be your shot. This is the second chance.
Awesome. And I just wanted to remind everyone, if you have any questions about Haitian TPS, please do not be afraid to ask the questions in the box. We will be answering these questions after the presentation. You can ask the questions in Creole or in English, and we will be here to answer those questions. And so, en Creole, si m'te en États-Unis pour première désignation après Goudou à Haïti, et puis m'pas jamais appliqué parce que m'te peur, m'a connaît, est-ce que m'ka fil kounya pour TPS?
Oui, so gros bon chance que c'est chance pas vrai? C'est deuxième chance. Si, ça dépend de si vous t'es jamais parlé avec un professionnel d'immigration pour connaître que ou pas de problème, pas vrai? So, l'homme dit pas de problème, ça veut dire que les gens qui n'a payé, ils sont rentrés, ils pas de papier, mais ça seulement, pas vrai? Il y a l'autre monde, il y a une conviction criminelle, qui a droit à un problème si vous avez immigration application. Ça veut dire que si vous êtes venu dans le pays déjà, vous avez une bonne chance de qualifier. Mais, avant de voir l'application, aller parler avec une immigration, un professionnel d'immigration avant pour make sûr que leur application ou pas mettre un problème.
Oui, c'est très important parce que nous parlons avec moun qui dit, oh, moun te dim, ma tante moi te dim, mon oncle moi te dim, si c'est pas moun qui confirme migration ou ka gen problème. So, the plus bon se demander au moun qui a expérience avec l'immigration. Next question is, what if a participant or a Haitian national didn't renew their TPS and it lapsed? May they apply during this designation?
So I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but you know what I'm gonna say.
Right.
It depends. So it depends on when you stopped renewing. I'm using those words specifically because just because you did not reapply doesn't necessarily mean it lapsed, right? So here's the factor that matters. TPS was granted in 2010 and then again in 2011. And every couple of years up until 2015, everyone would have re-registered. 2015's re-registration would have expired in 2017. The administration changed right before that. We know that the last administration attempted to end TPS and were not successful because the courts got involved. What does that mean for you? Well, it means that if you had TPS in 2010, 2011, and you stopped renewing, let's say 2013, you may no longer have TPS, right? However, if you had TPS and renewed in 2015, you have a document that expired 2017, based on the court's decisions, you wouldn't have had to do anything to maintain your TPS. So that means you could have not applied since 2015 and still have valid TPS. My suggestion is that you confirm. The good news is that CUNY Citizenship now has free lawyers anyway, so it'll cost you nothing, and it's really easy to find out, and it's worth it. But yes, the question is, it depends. If your TPS, if you stopped reapplying prior to 2015, you may actually no longer have TPS, and therefore you would need to apply this time. If you applied for the last time in 2015 and were approved and have a document that shows that it expires 2017, and I think the exact date is July 22nd, 2017, your TPS expires October of 2021, this year. If you reapplied 2018, 2019, anytime thereafter, it's expiring the same date, October of 2021.
So, en Creole, si je gen TPS, je vais jamais renouveler et puis me quitter le passé, temps passé. Est-ce que je peux faire le pour renouveler TPS ou rejoindre TPS avec désignation ça?
So, ça dépend, pas vrai? Ou doit pas appliquer pour TPS et ou still gain pour 2-3 années, pas vrai?
Oui.
Première fois TPS, yo te passé là, c'était 2010 et yo passé encore 2011. Moun qui te gagné 2 fois ça, yo te obligé de renouveler 2013, l'ethnie yo te renouveler encore 2015. Là, yo te renouvelé 2015 là, l'étape expiré 2017. Mais administration qui était dans office là, t'es essayé fini, t'es essayé suspendre TPS. Peut-être que tu étais rentré dans le causer, tu dis non, pour ici qu'il y a TPS, pas vrai? Tout ça veut dire que là, ça t'est fait là, administration n'a pas jamais dit que pour obliger à renouveler. Si tu as un TPS qui t'a expiré 2017 là, et t'a continué. So, tu es supposé expirer avant ça, et continuer, il a expiré plus tard. So, si tu as un TPS qui expiré 2017, ou bien 18, 19, n'importe date, l'a expiré 2021, octobre 2021. Mais, si tu pas renouvelé TPS en 2015, ou pas jamais joindre un papier qui dit que l'a fini 2017, ou bien doit te perdre, et ou bien doit obligé à appliquer CUNY. Mais pas de problème parce que ça n'a pas les CUNY, c'est que l'autre chance, l'autre opportunité pour appliquer.
Oui, merci. Sorry, this is in English and Creole as well. And this is very unique to the Haitian community, the Haitian family reunification parole that was ended by the Trump administration. So people are kind of still in the air about what they need to do. So what if Haitian nationals came to the US with the Haitian family reunification program after 2011 and they did not adjust their status? Is it possible for them to file for TPS right now?
Very likely. That's actually one of the best groups that I think are going to be affected by this. For those of you who aren't sure, Haitian family reunification was a program passed by the Obama administration, and Trump, well, the last administration ended it, as Sandra just mentioned. So for those people, they were supposed to apply for a green card in the US, which is a process called adjusting their status prior to the expiration of their Haitian family reunification. If they did not do that, then they just fell out of status, right? So what happened is they came with HFRP, they were supposed to apply for green card, but if you didn't apply for the green card, you now have nothing at all. What TPS does is it allows you a second shot, right? So TPS is not going to get you the green card, but it does allow you to go back into lawful status. You get work authorization, and you're going to be able to travel if you qualify for advanced parole. So that's absolutely positively a really good thing for people who came to with HFRP and weren't able to apply. Probably some people couldn't apply because they didn't have the money. Others weren't sure of the dates. Others didn't realize the rules. So this is another opportunity to get back into lawful status.
So, si m'te vini en États-Unis avec Haitian Family Unification Program Obama, c'est ça nous connaissons. Et après 2011, et puis nous pas fil pour joindre Green Card là. Est-ce que nous avons fil pour TPS Kounia?
Oui, so si gen pil moun ki te rentre à HFRP, yo te supposé appliquer pour Green Card là. Si yo pas appliqué pour Green Card là, yo quitté HFRP expiré, ça veut dire pas gen status même, pas vrai?
Oui.
So Kounia, TPS sak vini, moun sa yo gon chance pi yo gen status li temporary, TPS pa bo Green Card, pas vrai? Ou pa jwen no Green Card sur appliquer pour TPS. Mais TPS ka bo en chance pour travail, la bonne permission de travail, ou pas besoin de tête problème que parce que l'immigration a bien parce que sur le TPS, ou bien droit pour être dans le pays. Et troisième, ou qu'à voyager encore. On connaît pays nous un problème qu'on a, sur les gens dangereux pour les pays, mais nous toujours suivi. Sur nous fini à tout temps ça. Donc, à tourner pour la famille encore.
Okay, merci. And when can I apply? When can someone apply for TPS? Can we apply right now?
Absolutely not. And the answer in short answer is, I don't know. No one knows. It's rare that I say that. Like, I don't know, and I'm not sure when I'm going to find out, but those are the facts, right? So in order to know when to reapply, we have to wait for the Federal Register to be posted. That is going to be done by USCIS, also known as the Department of Homeland Security. When they tell us we can start to apply, they're going to tell us when the registration period ends and when it begins. That is going to be our window. You have to apply during that window. Until they announce it, no one knows. But more importantly, though, it could be announced tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next month, it could be 2 months. So if anyone's telling you they can assist you, please, please, please be cautious because there's nothing to do now. And as of it's June 16, 2021, 3/24, no register has been announced. Do not be a victim of fraud. Do not believe anyone who tells you they can help you. If you're watching this live, you have access to CUNY Citizenship now. They are really good at getting information out quickly. You also have the phone number for the attorneys and the paralegals who have information for free. You have nothing to lose. You call, you find out, you're good to go. But please, 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 please stay vigilant. Tell your friends you cannot apply now. We are preparing you because this can be a complicated process, and we want to make sure you have the information early enough so that you could prepare so that when it's announced, you're ready to go, right? But you cannot actually submit anything right now.
Okay. And pour Haïtien yo, y a demandé qui la yo ka appliquer pour TPS. Est-ce que yo ka fait le kounya, for your turn? Est-ce que c'est ba nou ka fait jodi a?
Yeah, before, one quick thing in English. Avant moi parler créole. Citizenship now is not the only free immigration services organization that could assist you. There are several, and they're all, you know, most of them are really good. So you have tons of options. It's extremely important to know how many free services that you have so that you do not end up being a victim of fraud and nobody tries to take advantage of you. So now I'm ready to go to Creole. Si vous voulez appliquer pour TPS, celle femme cadeau, c'est ne pas connaître, pas vrai? Pas de monde qui connaît. C'est celle département DHS qui connaît. Là, yo posté Federal Register, la dit nous qui date ou qu'a commencé et qui date ou qu'a fini. nous obligés tan yo, pas gen yo ka faire avant ça. Seul so ka fait c'est préparer, pas vrai? Ou ka sou konnen que ou perdi acte de naissance, ou ka commencer ou ka commencer jeune comment pour joindre. Ou sou konnen que ou a besoin serrer l'argent, commencer serrer l'argent. Sou konnen que ou gen papier que ou pas ko gagner, commencer faire ça, pas vrai? Mais ou pas qu'à buy application pour nous. Et nous pas contre qui la y a dit non. Pas vrai, you can voir dit nous l'autre semaine, you can voir dit nous l'autre mois, you can voir dit nous l'autre 2 mois, mais moi pas vle pour nous buy mon l'argent qui dit au aider nous. CUNY Citizenship now c'est pas seule organisation qui aide ou à immigration pour son l'argent. Pas vrai? Il y a une pile organisation de New York qui aide ou et ou pas besoin d'argent, pas besoin de tout problème. So si ou des questions, demandez au monde qui pas prendre corps avant, make sure que date n'a passé parce que sous alba on l'argent pour c'est gaspiller l'argent.
Oui, checker news, ou connaît radio haïtien qui a parlé, tout le monde a dit, tendez pour date ça, parce que si vous faites trop bonheur, vous perdez l'argent.
Yeah.
Possible. Okay, and I just wanted to remind everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment box. We will definitely answer your questions after this presentation. Stephanie, so we know that the Supreme Court just came out with a ruling regarding TPS and adjustment of status, and it's causing a frenzy. And I would love for you to shed some light on the Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, I would love to. So the way the news cycle have been reporting it, I find slightly deceptive. Just before we talk about the Supreme Court decision, let's talk a little bit about adjustment of status, which is what this was, right? Getting a green card in the US. There are several requirements to get the green card in the US. One of those requirements is that you came into the country lawfully, right? You entered lawfully. The Supreme Court case was about a group of people who were making the argument that even though they entered unlawfully, they did not come into the country with permission. Once they received the TPS grant, that should have made them eligible to apply for adjustment of status, even though they entered unlawfully. And granted, it is an incredible, I think it's a smart argument. I think it's a great argument, right? However, what the Supreme Court decided was, even if you have TPS, you still need to meet all of the other requirements to apply for a green card. Having TPS alone does not make the fact that you entered unlawfully disappear, right? It doesn't forgive it. And so just to kind of clarify, technically speaking, it's not saying that if you have TPS, you cannot get a green card in the country. It's saying if you have TPS, you still need to meet all the other requirements to get the green card in the country. I just want to add a quick caveat. Once you get TPS, you actually, or a lot of people are eligible for advanced parole. Advanced parole allows you to travel out of the country and come back. Once you come back on advanced parole, you are paroled in. So there is actually a pathway to cure an unlawful entry if you have TPS. It's not available to everyone, unfortunately. If you have prior deportations, if you have criminal convictions, advanced parole may not be advisable for you because we may not be advising you to leave the country. But there are a huge portion of TPS recipients who will be eligible for advanced parole. And if you are, that might be your alternative. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to clear that up, because saying TPS recipients can't get green card is a little vague, in my opinion.
Right. And what are the benefits of having TPS? We're talking so much about it, but what are the benefits for having TPS?
Oh, so many. So the first and perhaps most important is you don't have to worry about deportation, right? TPS allows you to go from being unlawfully present to being lawfully present in the US during the period that your TPS is valid. So what that means is that if you come in contact with law enforcement and you show them your valid TPS, you're basically saying you're here with permission and you don't have to worry about ending up in deportation proceedings. The second thing is it allows you to get a work authorization. Now, I know a lot of people in our community are able to work under the books and make a little bit of change, but the opportunity to work lawfully with employment authorization is a big deal. One, it increases how much money you could possibly make. It allows you to get benefits. There are certain positions that will now become available to you that would not otherwise. So I think that's a really big deal. And the third is one of my favorites, advanced parole, because you get to go back home and you see your family and your friends and you get out of here, even though COVID-19 makes it a little hard. When things get closer to normal, you'll be able to travel again, which is also, in my opinion, an incredible advantage of TPS.
So speaking of travel, what are the rules for traveling with TPS?
So advanced parole for TPS recipients, simply having TPS makes you automatically eligible for advanced parole. That's very different for advanced parole when it comes to DACA, and I know some people mix that up. DACA, if you have DACA, you still need to meet different requirements in order to get advanced parole. So you'd either have to meet a requirement for humanitarian, education, etc. TPS, you don't need to worry about that. Simply having TPS makes you eligible. However, like I mentioned before, just because you are eligible for advanced parole does not mean it is advisable for you to leave the country. So if for instance, you have a prior deportation order, even if you apply and somehow you get it, it doesn't mean you should leave. I tell everyone that the US will always let you leave. They just don't necessarily always let you come back.
That's
So
right.
be cautious before you travel on advanced parole. Make sure you speak to an immigration professional and make sure you are eligible. The other tricky thing about it is if you've been convicted of if you have certain criminal convictions, sometimes you may not realize the impact. So it's really important that you confirm that conviction does not impact your ability to come back in the country before you leave.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie, for all your great responses and your time. We're going to start doing the questions from the group chat. And one of the questions is, if I have Medicaid, are there any fee waivers to apply for TPS?
Yes. I love fee waivers. So there are a few ways to be eligible for the fee waiver. One of them is Medicaid. It is the most common way. It is one of the best ways to apply because the documentary evidence is not as much. But yes, if you have Medicaid, you will be eligible to apply for a fee waiver, which means you can get your TPS for free.
Awesome. And next question from the constituent, I'm sorry, I keep saying constituent, from her person on the chat. I had TPS from Haiti, for Haiti from 2010 to 2017. Am I eligible? Will I be able to apply for parole to travel to Canada, or must it be from Haiti?
So if you are eligible for advanced parole, you can go anywhere you want. You're not restricted to your home country when you're traveling. That said, because the COVID rules are still in effect right now, I would definitely confirm before booking tickets because that might be another issue. But yes, if you have TPS and you continue to renew it, you are eligible for advanced parole. You just have to confirm with the Department of State because even though you're eligible for advanced parole and those requirements haven't changed, COVID has affected travel rules and travel regulations, including for immigration purposes.
Okay, and I had TPS already. When is the date I can reapply again, or can I adjust my status?
So that's a two-part answer. First and foremost, if you had TPS and you maintained it and have a document that has an expiration date of 2017 or later, you're fine. You have TPS and it's valid until October of 2021. Approximately, I'd say 3 to 5 months before the expiration date, we're expecting a federal register for re-registration for current TPS holders. That's traditionally how it's been done. When that is announced, you will have instructions on whether you will be resubmitting applications and forms to re-register, or if this administration is going to continue what has been happening, which is automatic re-registration. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what direction they're going to go in. But if your TPS, if you have it and it's valid until 2017, that means it's current. 2021, October of 2021 is your current expiration date. And you have to wait until a Federal Register announces when the re-registration period is for the 2010 and or the 2011 TPS, which is what you have.
Another question is, children under the age of 18, can they also apply for TPS? Will they get the same benefits?
Absolutely. So anyone who is a Haitian national who is living here at the time that Haiti is designated for TPS is going to be eligible to get it. We did applications for children as young as 5, and there were times where we applied for the employment authorization just so that there's an ID for the child, but obviously a 5-year-old isn't going to work. So you don't have to necessarily do that, but you absolutely should get them the TPS during the designation period, because then what it does is it locks in their status. Eventually, if they choose to get work authorization, that's its own issue, but you have to apply for people even if they're under 18, or a person under 18 should still be applying for TPS.
Well, Stephanie, once again, thank you for everything. Nous remercions pour tout travail au fait pour tout Haïtien en New York. Et puis, nous comptons là pour répondre questions. Tout le monde te gagne au cœur, mais pas contre qui est-ce pour demander. Et puis, ou même, c'est ou même qui est clarifier questions des TPS. Nous remercions pour tout par fait. And I basically said, thank you, Stephanie, for helping the Haitian community answer questions regarding TPS. You know, there's like a cloud of misunderstanding, and I feel that she definitely helped clarify a lot of questions that people had about TPS. And before we conclude, nous gagnons un event le 24 jeudi 2021. Il commençait à 11h30 du matin pour finir à 3h l'après-midi. Nous avons avocats avec paralegals qui pourra là pour répondre aux questions sur l'immigration. Si vous voulez nous répondre aux questions pour vous à CUNY Citizenship Now, ou mettre-les pour enregistrer pour joindre Zoom Information. Numéro c'est 646-664-9400. Et puis, vous appelez pour faire appointment. Basically, we have an event coming up for question and answer regarding immigration, and it will be held Thursday, June 24th, 2021 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our attorneys and paralegals will be there to assist you with your various questions. You have to call and register for the Zoom information and to get your appointment. And the number is 646-664-9400. Again, that's 646-664-9400. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here to moderate this discussion. And CUNY Citizenship Now has various events throughout the year answering hot topics or any questions that we have regarding immigration. And please follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We are CUNY Citizenship Now everywhere, and we will be here to assist you. Thank you again.